Power has a strange scent. Sometimes it smells like promise, other times like fear. And when promise meets fear, a very particular kind of salesman is born, the authoritarian savior. History loves to repeat its mistakes, and oddly enough, humanity seems to love watching the same horror show on repeat. Every now and then, someone appears claiming they'll save the nation, restore morality, or protect the people from evil. And the people, tired, afraid, and desperate, believe them. In this video, you'll see how 6 men used chaos, charisma, and psychological manipulation to turn hope into control. You'll understand how some of the darkest dictators in history rose to power, and how ordinary people helped build their own prison. Adolf Hitler. Germany in the 1920s was a nation in ruins. Insane inflation, massive unemployment, and humiliation after World War I. The people wanted someone who could bring back national pride, and Hitler appeared as the fixer. He didn't seize power by force. It was handed to him. He promised discipline, jobs, and a unified identity. His speeches had rhythm, emotion, and clear enemies. And when the people and the elites unite around a common enemy, that's when the real danger begins. What came next, censorship, concentration camps, war, was born from something simple, a promise that sounded logical. Hitler understood something terrifying. The masses don't follow truth. They follow whoever can make chaos sound coherent. Pol Pot. On the other side of the world, another man was preparing to test how far utopia can turn into a nightmare. Pol Pot believed he was purifying Cambodia. His Khmer Rouge regime wanted to reset society, to erase education, cities, and the past itself. In just 4 years, 1/4 of the population was gone. There were no bombs, only shovels, fields, and paranoia. He once said, "It's better to kill an innocent person than to let an enemy escape." Pol Pot turned Cambodia into a one-party state called Democratic Kampuchea. His goal, to create an agrarian socialist society that would supposedly evolve into a communist paradise. Urban citizens were forced into the countryside to work on collective farms. Money was abolished, and everyone had to wear the same black clothing, symbols of forced equality. It was madness disguised as revolutionary logic. Pol Pot is the perfect image of utopia losing touch with reality. It starts by seeking equality and ends up erasing lives to keep the idea alive. Mao Zedong. In China, Mao Zedong began as a symbol of liberation. After decades of foreign invasions and deep feudal inequality, he offered something irresistible: national dignity. He spoke to the forgotten peasants, those who had never been heard before, and it worked. Over time, Mao wasn't just a leader anymore. He became a living idea, but absolute ideas always come with a cost. The Great Leap Forward, for instance, was meant to turn China into an industrial power within a few short years. The result? One of the worst famines in human history, with tens of millions dead. Still, the regime lied about the numbers, and the people, trapped between fear and devotion, applauded. Then came the Cultural Revolution. Teachers humiliated, artists imprisoned, intellectuals destroyed, all in the name of revolutionary purity. Mao proved that a cult of personality is the most effective form of censorship, because the people themselves start to watch and punish anyone who dares to doubt the myth. And there's a tragic irony in that. He began fighting oppression and ended up building an even greater one, only now with red flags. Benito Mussolini, the first of the modern dictators, the architect of political theater. Before Hitler, before Stalin, he already understood the power of imagery. Marches, uniforms, slogans, all carefully designed to look inevitable. Italy, defeated and humiliated after World War I, craved order, and he offered it, wrapped in national pride and military aesthetics. He called democracy a weakness and promised action. His regime brought censorship, repression, and war. Yet for almost 2 decades, much of the people saw him as a hero, because fascism isn't imposed, it's performed. And the audience, enchanted by the spectacle, forgets that the ticket costs freedom. Fidel Castro. He began on the other side of the mirror, revolutionary, student, guerrilla, promising to free Cuba from a corrupt dictatorship. At first, the dream seemed righteous: land reform, education, equality. But when power consolidates too much, revolution turns into religion. Castro controlled the press, silenced dissent, and turned debate into taboo. And yet he was loved. Here lies the paradox. The more charismatic the leader, the harder it becomes to see when he turns from symbol to censor. Fidel didn't arrive through fear, but through hope. And hope is the most flammable fuel there is. Joseph Stalin. Stalin, the coldest case of them all. No charisma, no shine, only a lethal intelligence for manipulating structures. He didn't need crowds, he only needed bureaucracy. While other dictators rose through speeches, Stalin climbed through strategy. He used the Communist Party as a ladder and, step by step, eliminated anyone above him. When he reached the top, fear became the official language of the Soviet Union. Political purges created collective paranoia, neighbors denounced neighbors, friends vanished overnight, and all of it had the appearance of legality. Stalin proved that the most effective dictatorship is the one where the people themselves help keep the prison locked. In the end, the pattern is almost mathematical. First comes the crisis, economic, moral, or social. Then the saving speech, simple, emotional. Next, the enemy, external or internal, to unite the masses. Then comes centralization, censorship, fear. And by the time we realize it, it's too late. Society has grown used to abuse and calls control protection. What unites these men isn't just their brutality, it's their ability to turn chaos into clarity, fear into faith, and despair into obedience. They mastered the art of speaking to the part of the human soul that craves direction when everything feels lost. That's why their rise wasn't through brute force. It was through belief. They understood something most people still ignore. Absolute power isn't taken. It's offered piece by those who think they're being protected. Every cheer, every silence, every small concession builds the throne a tyrant sits on. Each of them was applauded before being feared. The stadiums were full, the speeches were electric, and the promises sounded noble. But what begins with hope often ends with control. And what begins as us versus them always ends as me against everyone. History doesn't repeat names, it repeats patterns. Different faces, different flags, the same blueprint. First comes the crisis, real or manufactured. Then the savior appears with easy answers and hard consequences. Next, an enemy is chosen, someone to blame, someone to hate. And finally, the silence grows, until truth itself becomes dangerous to speak. In every dictatorship, the same equation emerges: fear plus faith equals control, because when people stop questioning, they start obeying. And when obedience feels like loyalty, freedom quietly dies. The greatest tragedy is that tyranny never looks like tyranny at the beginning. It looks like order. It looks like safety. It looks like someone saying, "Trust me, I'll fix it." So, ask yourself, would you recognize a dictator before it's too late? Because history doesn't warn you, yes, it whispers. And those who don't listen are destined to relive the same mistakes, just with new names and new flags. If you found this video thought-provoking, give it a like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, which of these dictators do you think left the darkest mark on history?